All right, now we're looking at a graph involving a phase shift. So if we think back to our typical function transformations, we have a times f of b, x minus c plus d. So vertical stretch, vertical shift, horizontal stretch, horizontal shift. With trig graphs, we call a horizontal shift a phase shift. So for this graph, I see my a value is 2. So that tells me my amplitude is 2. My period is not changed. I have no b value, so it's really an imaginary 1. So that means my period is going to be 2 pi. My phase shift is pi over 4. So my c value, pi over 4. This means I'm going pi over 4 to the right. Remember, it always looks the opposite. So this looks like I moved to the left, but actually I moved to the right. My d value is 3, so this tells me my center line is up 3. So 3, and then my amplitude tells me my max and min. So here's my max at 5, and my min at 1. All right, so normally I start sign in the center, but now I'm moving pi over 4 to the right. So I'm going to start my center over here, and I'm going to call this pi over 4. Now I'm going to complete my cycle. I know I'm going to complete my cycle now 2 pi later. That means I'm going to end at 2 pi plus pi over 4 for my full cycle. So if this is pi over 4, then I'm going to end up with, let's see, if I went up, middle, down, back to middle, I would end up somewhere over here. So this is going to be my 2 pi value. Here would be my 2 pi plus pi over 4. So that would actually be 9 pi over 4 over here. Coming back, it looks like I'm going to be at 0, and then finishing a cycle. Let's think about where we're going to finish. So here is 1 full cycle. This is going to end up being negative 2 pi plus pi over 4. So that's going to be negative 7 pi over 4. If I went the full negative 2 pi, then I'm going to be down here again. So my period I can measure from center to center. That'll make a distance of 2 pi. If I measured starting from negative 2 pi to 0, well, I'm going from minimum to minimum. It's another way of looking at a full cycle. So here is my graph. And this is an interesting thing to look at this way, because seeing that my graph had its minimum right on the axis, that's not always going to happen, but when it does, then I must have an equivalent graph here of negative 2 cosine. So I started at the minimum. X, I don't move my cosine left or right, it's right at its minimum there, plus 3. So that tells me that these two functions must be equivalent to each other. And if I wanted to test that, I could put it into my calculator and see that I end up with the same picture.